Story number 1. Security feed. I sit in the basement security office at 3 in the morning, logging camera checks in my notebook while freezing rain hammers the windows behind me. The fluorescent lights overhead buzz louder than usual. They always do when the building is this empty, when it's just me and 16 floors of vacant cubicles and conference rooms. I've worked this shift for 2 years now. I know the sounds, the hum of the HVAC, the occasional groan of the elevator cables, the way my pen scratches against paper when I note the time of each camera sweep. 3:14, all clear. I write it down, neat block letters, the way I always do. Camera 12 shows the 3rd floor break room. There's a figure standing there, facing the wall beside the vending machines, completely still. I lean closer to the monitor, squinting. It must be maintenance. They forget to submit their work orders all the time, show up at odd hours to fix a leak or replace a ballast. I make a note to remind Gary about the protocol again. 3rd time this month. I flip to camera 7, empty hallway. Camera 8. Stairwell, nothing. Camera 9, elevator lobby, all 3 cars dormant. I cycle back to 12, the break room is empty now. I frown. Check my notebook. 3:14, figure in break room. It's 3:16 now, 2 minutes. They must have walked out while I was checking the other feeds. I flip to camera 13, the hallway outside the break room. The figure is standing near the copy room. Same dark clothing, same posture, perfectly still facing the wall. I didn't see them walk. The hallway camera should have caught them moving from the break room to the copy room. It's a straight shot, maybe 30 feet. But the timestamp on camera 13 shows they've been standing there since 3:15. I must have missed them somehow. I was tired. I've been pulling doubles this week because Marcus called in sick. The lights buzz. A fly trapped in the fixture maybe. That's what it sounds like. I watch the figure on camera 13. They don't move. Not even a shift of weight. I count to 60 in my head watching. Nothing. Their back is to the camera. Dark jacket, dark pants. I can't see their face. I flip through the other 3rd floor cameras. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. When I get back to 13, the hallway is empty. Camera 14 shows them standing in the conference room at the end of the hall, facing the window, motionless. My pen hovers over the notebook. I don't write anything. I flip back to 13. The hallway is still empty. I check the timestamp. 3:18. I've been watching for less than a minute. Camera 14 shows 3:17. That's not possible. The conference room is around a corner from where they were standing. They'd have to walk past camera 13 to get there. I would have seen them. The buzzing overhead gets louder. It's not a fly. It's the ballast going bad, probably. I make a mental note to submit a work order myself, then realize how stupid that is. I'm thinking about light fixtures when someone is walking around the 3rd floor in the middle of the night without authorization. I reach for my radio. Press the button. Gary, you got anyone working 3rd floor tonight? Static. I wait. Nothing. Gary, this is Simmons in security. You copy. More static, then a sharp pop that makes me pull the radio away from my ear. I try again. Dead air. I look back at the monitors. Camera 9, the elevator lobby. All 3 call buttons are lit. 1st floor, 3rd floor, 7th floor. All 3 elevators are being summoned simultaneously. I watch the floor indicators above each elevator door. None of them are moving. Someone pressed those buttons from inside the building, just now. While I was trying to reach Gary, I flipped to camera 14. The figure is gone from the conference room. I cycle through all the 3rd floor cameras, one by one, my hand moving faster now. Break room, empty. Hallway, empty. Copy room, empty. Conference room, empty. Camera 15, the stairwell landing. 3rd floor. They're standing in front of the camera, facing it directly. Dark jacket. Dark pants. I can't see their face clearly because the stairwell lighting is poor, but I can see they're wearing the same uniform I am. Same company jacket, same dark pants, same radio clipped to the belt. The stairwell that leads down to my office. I stand up. My chair rolls backward and hits the wall. The fluorescent lights buzz so loud now it sounds like they're inside my skull. I grab my pepper spray from the desk drawer, thumb off the safety. My hands are shaking. I flip to camera 16. Second floor stairwell landing. Empty. Camera 17. First floor landing. Empty. Back to 15. The figure is gone. I lock the office door. The deadbolt clicks into place and I test it twice. Then I pull out my cell phone and dial 911, keeping my eyes on the monitors. 911, what's your emergency? This is Dana Simmons, overnight security at North Point Tower, downtown Minneapolis. There's an unauthorized person in the building. Third floor, possibly in the stairwell now. I watch camera 17 while I talk. The first floor landing, nothing. Then the figure walks into frame, descending from the second floor. They stop on the landing, turn to face the camera. Stand completely still. Mom, are you in a safe location? I'm locked in the basement security office. They're in the stairwell. They're coming down. The figure stands there, doesn't move. I can see them more clearly now on camera 17. Dark hair pulled back. Same jacket as mine, same radio, same everything. Officers are on the way. Stay on the line with me. I watch the figure. They don't move toward the basement level. They just stand there, facing the camera, until the police arrive 12 minutes later. The officers search the entire building. All 16 floors, every stairwell, every closet. They find nothing. No one. The third floor is empty. The stairwells are empty. They check the elevator logs. No cars moved after midnight. They ask if I'm sure about what I saw. I show them my notebook, the timestamps, the camera numbers. They nod and say they'll include it in the report. They ask if I want to go home early. I say yes. I sit in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes before I can stop shaking enough to drive. The freezing rain has stopped. The sky is starting to lighten. At home, I can't sleep. I keep seeing that figure standing in the stairwell. The uniform, the posture. At 8:30 in the morning, I log into the security system remotely and pull up the archived footage. I watch it again. Camera 12, 3:14. The figure in the break room. I pause it, zoom in as much as the resolution allows. Dark jacket, company logo on the breast, dark pants, black shoes, hair pulled back in a ponytail. My ponytail. I fast forward. Camera 13, 3:16. The figure by the copy room. I zoom in on their belt. Radio on the left side. Pepper spray on the right. Same as mine. Camera 17. First floor stairwell. 3:32. The figure facing the camera. I zoom in on their face. The resolution is poor. The lighting is bad. But I can see enough. The shape of the jaw. The slope of the nose. The way the hair is pulled back. I check the timestamp again. 3:32 in the morning. I pull up camera 18. My office. Same timestamp. I'm sitting at my desk, phone pressed to my ear, talking to the 911 operator. My hand is gripping pepper spray. I'm staring at the monitors, both cameras, same moment, same timestamp. I close the laptop. My hands won't stop shaking. The fluorescent light in my kitchen is buzzing. Story number 2. Fuel pump. I pulled off Route 50 just after 6 in the morning. The sky, that flat grey color that comes right before real daylight. I'd been driving since Reno and needed to top off the tank before the last stretch home to Sparks. My kids were expecting me by 8. Sarah had a soccer game at 9 and I'd promised I wouldn't miss another one. The station looked like it had been closed for years. Pumps still standing but no price signs. Windows on the convenience store boarded over, weeds growing through cracks in the concrete. But I'd used this place before, maybe 2 years back, and the pumps had taken my card then. Worth a try. The next station was 20 miles east and I was running on fumes. I climbed down from the cab and stretched. My back always gets tight on these long hauls. The air smelled like diesel and dust and something else underneath, something organic and spoiled. Probably a dead animal somewhere nearby. coyote or jackrabbit that crawled under the building to die. That's when I saw the note. It was taped to the pump with clear packing tape, the paper wrinkled like it had been there a while, handwritten in blue ballpoint, letters pressed hard into the page. Don't use restroom, trust me. I looked over at the restroom on the side of the building, single door, the kind that opens directly outside. The door was cracked open maybe 3 inches, dark inside. My first thought was plumbing. Burst pipe, backed up toilet, something that would make a mess. Or maybe an animal had gotten in there and died. That would explain the smell. Some traveler had been considerate enough to leave a warning. I appreciated that. I could hold it until the next town. I swiped my card and started fueling. The pump was slow, maybe half the normal speed. I watched the numbers climb on the display and did the math in my head. At this rate, it would take almost 10 minutes to fill the tank. I thought about my daughter in her green and white uniform, the way she always looked for me in the stands. The smell was getting worse, not just diesel anymore. Something rotten, something that had been sitting in heat. I breathed through my mouth and watched the numbers. The restroom door moved, just a few inches, opening wider. I told myself it was wind, but the air was completely still, not even a breeze. The door just swung open slowly like someone had pushed it from inside. A man stepped out. He was wearing jeans and a dark jacket, maybe blue or black in the dim light. He was holding something in both hands. It took me a second to recognize the shape. Bolt cutters. The long-handled kind you use on chain-link fences or padlocks. He didn't walk toward me. He just stood there next to the restroom door, maybe 30 feet away, looking at my truck. Not at me. At the truck. His face was shadowed, but I could feel him watching. I kept my hand on the pump nozzle. The numbers kept climbing. 60 gallons, 70. My rig takes 120 when it's empty. The man didn't move, didn't say anything. Just stood there with those bolt cutters held across his chest like he was waiting for something. Maybe he worked here. Maybe he was the one who'd written the note. Maybe he was just another traveler who'd pulled in on the other side of the building and happened to need bolt cutters for something. There were a dozen reasonable explanations, but my hands were shaking. 80 gallons. 90. I tried to think it through logically. If he wanted to rob me, he would have approached while I was out of the cab. If he needed help, he would have said something. He was just standing there, watching. The pump clicked off at 105 gallons. Not full, but close enough. I pulled the nozzle out and hung it up, my eyes on the man the whole time. He still hadn't moved. I screwed the fuel cap back on and walked around to the driver's side, moving faster than I meant to. That's when I saw the second vehicle in my side mirror. It had pulled in behind my trailer while I was fueling. I hadn't heard it over the sound of the pump. A white panel van, no windows in the back, parked at an angle across the only paved exit. The engine was running. I could see the exhaust in the cold morning air. I climbed into the cab and pulled the door shut, locked it. My heart was hammering now, and I wasn't pretending anymore that this was nothing. The man with the bolt cutters started walking toward me, not fast, not running. Just walking at a steady pace across the concrete, those bolt cutters still held in both hands. He was looking right at me now. I could see his face. 30s maybe, needed a shave. Expression completely blank. I turned the key. The engine was already warm and it caught immediately. I put it in gear. The white van was still blocking the exit. I could try to squeeze past on the right side, but the angle was wrong and there were concrete barriers along that edge. I'd get stuck for sure. The man was 15 feet away now. 10. I looked left. Open desert, scrub brush and sand, but also a wooden fence running along the property line. Old weathered posts and rails, the kind that's more decorative than functional. It wouldn't stop a loaded truck. I made the decision without really thinking about it. I cranked the wheel hard left and hit the accelerator. The truck lurched forward, tires spinning on the dirt shoulder, and I aimed straight for the fence. The man with the bolt cutters stepped back but didn't run. He just watched me go. The fence exploded into splinters. I felt the impact through the whole cab, but the truck didn't even slow down. I kept the accelerator down and drove across open desert, bouncing over rocks and brush, until I hit the frontage road that ran parallel to the highway. I didn't stop until I was back on Route 50 with 2 other trucks visible ahead of me. Then I pulled onto the shoulder and sat there shaking for 5 minutes before I could trust my hands enough to dial 911. The sheriff's deputy who took my statement was polite, but I could tell he thought I'd overreacted. "Probably just a vagrant," he said. "Lot of people camp out at that old station. The bolt cutters could have been for anything, but he drove out there anyway. Called me 3 hours later while I was sitting in the stands watching Sarah play midfielder. They found tire tracks behind the building, fresh ones, leading to a recreational vehicle that had been hidden back there, parked in a depression where you couldn't see it from the road, windows all blacked out with paint or paper, no license plates. Bolt cutters on the ground near the driver's side door, like someone had dropped them in a hurry. The RV was empty when they searched it, but there were chains bolted to the floor in the back. The deputy said they were checking missing persons reports. He said I'd done the right thing by leaving. He said the note on the pump wasn't about plumbing. I still drive Route 50. I have to for work. But I don't stop at that station anymore. Someone tore down what was left of the fence and now there's nothing but desert there, like the building was never important at all. Sometimes I think about that note. Who wrote it? Whether they got away? Story number 3, Apartment 9B. I smelled it the second I pushed open the door. Cologne, not mine obviously, and not anything I recognized. Just this sharp, woody scent hanging in the stale air of my apartment like someone had walked through 5 minutes before. I stood in the doorway with 2 canvas grocery bags cutting into my fingers, staring at nothing in particular. The living room looked exactly as I'd left it, laptop closed on the coffee table, mug from this morning still sitting on the side table. The radiator ticking in that rhythmic way it always does. It had to be Dan, my landlord. I'd texted him last week about the radiator leak in the bathroom, the one that left a rust stain on the tile. He'd said he'd come by to check it. I must have forgotten, or maybe he'd told me and I hadn't been paying attention. February had been like that. Everything felt like it was happening through a layer of fog. I kicked the door shut behind me and carried the bags to the kitchen. The apartment was cold, which made sense. It was 28 degrees outside, and the heat in this building was a suggestion at best. I started unpacking, putting the yogurt and eggs in the fridge, the bread on the counter. But the smell wouldn't leave my head. It was too strong for someone who'd just popped in to check a leak. And Dan didn't wear cologne. I'd been in his office downstairs plenty of times. He smelled like coffee and sometimes sawdust. I stopped with a can of soup in my hand and listened. The apartment was silent except for the radiator and the muffled sound of traffic on the street below. I told myself I was being paranoid. 4 months of living alone after 7 years with someone, of course I was jumpy. Of course every sound felt louder. I put the soup in the cabinet and walked toward the bathroom. The door was open, the way I always left it. But when I got close, I felt it. Warmth. Not just the normal warmth of a small room, but the humid, lingering warmth of someone having just been in there, like the air after a shower. I touched the towel hanging on the rack. Dry. I looked at the mirror. No fog. But the warmth was undeniable, and now I could smell something else underneath the cologne. Something faintly sweet, like shampoo or body wash I didn't own. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I pulled it out. Unknown number. A text with no words, just an image. I opened it. It was my kitchen. My kitchen from the hallway angle looking in. The bread I'd just put on the counter was visible in the frame. The grocery bags were still sitting there, one of them ticked on its side. The photo had been taken less than 5 minutes ago. I don't remember deciding to move, I just did. I grabbed my keys off the counter where I'd dropped them, and my phone was already in my hand, and I went for the door. I didn't check the bedroom. I didn't check the closet. I didn't look behind me. I just got out. The hallway was bright and empty, and I could hear a television playing in one of the other units. I went to 3B and knocked. too hard, too fast. My neighbor Sarah answered after a few seconds, already frowning. "Are you okay? Can I come in?" "Just for a second." She stepped back and I moved past her into the doorway, not all the way inside, just far enough that I could see my door down the hall. My hands were shaking. I pulled up the recent calls on my phone and dialed 911. The dispatcher was calm and methodical. She asked if I was safe. She asked if I could see anyone. She said officers were on the way and to stay where I was. Sarah stood next to me with her arms crossed, watching my door like I was. The police arrived in under 10 minutes. 2 officers, one older with grey in his beard, one younger and broad-shouldered. I explained it in fragments that didn't sound rational even to me. The smell, the warmth, the photo. They listened without interrupting and then asked for my keys. I waited in the hallway with Sarah while they went inside. She offered me water. I said no. I just watched the open door of my apartment and listened to the sound of their footsteps moving through the rooms, the closet doors opening, the shower curtain being pulled back. The older officer came out first. "No one's in there." "But your bathroom window's unlatched from the inside." "I never opened that window. It's February." "I believe you. We're going to check something." They went back in. I heard their voices, low and deliberate, coming from the direction of my bedroom. Then the younger officer appeared in the doorway and motioned me over. I didn't want to go in. Sarah came with me, her hand on my shoulder. The older officer was standing next to my bed, looking at the mirror on the wall. The big one I'd bought at the thrift store last year, the one with the ornate gold frame. He pointed to the top corner. "You ever notice anything behind this?" "No." "What do you mean?" He reached up and tilted the mirror forward slightly. Something small and black was wedged into the gap between the frame and the wall. He pulled it out carefully with 2 fingers. It was the size of a matchbox, with a tiny lens on one side. "Camera," he said. "Wireless. Records to a cloud server." I felt the floor tilt. Sarah's hand tightened on my shoulder. The younger officer was already on his phone, taking photos, calling someone. The older one asked me questions I barely heard. "Who has a key to your apartment? Have you noticed anything else unusual? When was the last time someone you know was here?" They took the device with them. They took my statement. They checked the door for signs of forced entry and found none. They told me to change my locks and stay somewhere else tonight. It took them 3 days to trace it. The device had been recording for 11 days. The purchase was linked to a credit card belonging to someone named Michelle Garrettson. I didn't know anyone by that name. But when they showed me her photo, I recognized her from Marcus's Instagram. Marcus, my ex. The one I'd spent 7 years with. The one who'd moved out in October. She was his girlfriend, not his new girlfriend. His girlfriend from before. The overlap I'd never known about until it was already over. The police said she'd gotten a spare key during the last month. Marcus and I were still together. He'd made a copy without telling me and given it to her. She'd let herself in twice. Once to install the camera. Once, they think, the day I came home and smelled the cologne. They arrested her on a Thursday. I wasn't there. I was at Sarah's, sitting on her couch staring at my phone. Marcus never called, never texted. I don't know if he knew what she'd done. I don't know if I want to know. I got my locks changed. I took down the mirror. But I still can't walk into my apartment without holding my breath first, waiting to smell something that doesn't belong.